Is Deadpool the best superhero game? Mixing intense action with humor gives you something called Deadpool. This character is known for being funny and extremely violent during combat, cause, well, he can't die. Same is the case with Deadpool's game where you get to experience how things take place in his universe. But do all of these factors make it the best? Stay till the end of the video to find out. Background. Many of us may know about Deadpool from movies or from the Marvel comics, and this game is a plus. This game is fun one way or the other, whether it be combat, humorous banter while fighting the bosses, or well, yeah. For those of you who can't tolerate intense action Deadpool does day in and day out, sadly this game's not for you. Story. So Deadpool, the video game, was a bit of a letdown, and it's surprising because Daniel Way, who's written some top-notch Deadpool comics, was behind it. I mean, there's this comic where Deadpool's out to kill Wolverine, and it's just full of twists and turns. But the game? It's pretty straightforward and bland. Deadpool's after a bad guy, bumps into a run-of-the-mill X-Men villain, teams up with some side characters I barely remember, heads to an island, and finishes the job. Well, that's pretty much it. It's frustrating because there's so much potential for more depth, especially given Deadpool's usual witty banter. When he meets Wolverine in the game, it's just a bunch of quick jokes and no real substance. And we know superhero games can be deep and engaging, like just look at the Arkham series. Also, did you catch the part about Deadpool's inner voice in the game? It's kind of funny because later in the comics, it turns out that voice is actually Madcap, a lesser-known Captain America villain. Thus, the story didn't really do justice to the character, and an even bigger disappointment was that the script came from none other than Daniel Way, who was the one responsible for popularizing Deadpool in the first place. Gameplay. I've gotta say, I'm really into its gameplay. Deadpool is such a wild character, and the game does a good job of showcasing his, let's call it a unique approach to problem solving, which is basically a whole lot of violence. The game nails how Deadpool handles a fight and brings that comic book chaos to life. The array of weapons is just great. From guns and melee weapons to even bear traps, there's never a dull moment. And I absolutely dig the gun katana stuff. It's when you mix shooting with melee and it feels as if you're right in the middle of an intense action scene. In this game, upgrading actually matters because when you boost something, it really makes a difference in how you play. Once you upgrade your ammo and health, you really start to feel like the powerhouse Deadpool's supposed to be, mowing down enemies left and right. It's like Deadpool says, low on power but high on vitamin C. But if I had to pick a fault, not really a fault, it would be with the dodge counter mechanic. It tries to be like the Arkham games but doesn't quite hit the mark. The timing is too forgiving. It doesn't really matter when you hit the button, just as long as you do, you'll be fine. And the teleport move feels too overpowered. And Deadpool even gave up his teleporter belt in the comics because it made things a piece of cake. Despite that, I've gotta hand it to them. The gameplay's pretty tight and fun. One thing that makes Deadpool the video game stand out is how it shakes things up with the gameplay. Every mission throws something different at you, like a sudden turret section, weird inverted controls, intense action sequences, like literally very violent minigames, or even the maze section. It's this kind of variety that keeps you on your toes and makes the game fun to play, something that games like Wolverine Origins and Spider-Man Edge of Time could have used. However, the "it's a video game" joke gets so repetitive that it gets annoying at some point. The game keeps hitting the pause button to poke fun at typical gaming cliches, and it kinda kills the vibe after a while. At first, it's pretty funny, but then it just turns into overkill, especially when you've heard it 100 times. Okay, I know it's just a video game, no need to tell me again and again. And the plot? Well, as I talked about the story before, it feels like they just grabbed a few ideas from X-Men Origins Wolverine and ran with it. I mean, aiming high is great and all, but straight up copying isn't exactly the path to success. Another plus point of the game is the auto-aim mechanism. It's like they just went overboard with it because when you're aiming with a long-range weapon, the reticle snaps to enemies if you're anywhere near them, kind of like in Call of Duty. But all you gotta do is hold down the triggers and the game practically aims for you. So what happens next? Well, it totally takes the challenge out of the game, especially when you've fully maxed out your weapons with all the damage and ammo upgrades. It's just too easy then. For the next game, if they tone down that auto-targeting, it'll make a huge difference. Now, onto Deadpool's healing factor, which they actually nailed in the game. It's pretty spot on, like in X-Men Origins Wolverine, where Deadpool can take a hit but then regenerates his health, skin, and even his suit. It's a neat touch that keeps him from turning into a walking weapon-wielding maniac in shredded clothes. Bosses. The bosses in the game are pretty standard, kinda on the lame side. Mostly you just keep on firing away until they drop, which gets pretty easy once you get the hang of rapid firing. Even on the hardest setting, most bosses don't really stand out. That final boss, though, is a different story with the crazy number of enemies it throws at you. But you know, just mix and match your tactics, throw everything you've got at it, and you'll defeat them as well. And the NPC tier enemies? Well, they're nothing to worry about either. You've got your generic suit-wearing goons, some Mr. Sinister clones, and oddly some dudes straight out of Lord of the Rings, which is just bizarre. Every now and then, you bump into enemies that look like they're cloned from X-Men characters, but they're just there to be the recipient of your endless barrage of attacks. The game does feel a bit repetitive after a while, especially when you're facing the same few types of enemies repeatedly. But considering the game was cheaper to make, selling for about $20 less than the usual new game, it's not too shabby. They managed to pack a lot of dialogue into it, which keep things lively, even if the combat gets monotonous. Deadpool's constant quips are a highlight, though the overall writing doesn't quite match the potential. Adaptation. I've got some thoughts that I've just got to get off my chest. It's like, is this really the Deadpool we all love? Hell nah. And now it seems like this is how most people picture him all the time. Daniel Way, the guy behind it, actually introduced me to Deadpool. But man, this game really screwed me over with the story. It's kinda wild, but ask anyone on the street how they got to know about Deadpool, who was pretty obscure before, and I bet half will say this game and the rest from the movie. The timing of this game's release and Deadpool becoming a big deal? Well, it can't be a coincidence. I mean, it's pretty cool that the game helped make Deadpool mainstream, but at the same time, it's kinda sad because it's also led to so many misunderstandings about him. The Deadpool most people know from the game is all about memes, breaking the fourth wall, swearing like there's no tomorrow, and just being a bit too much. It's like the game version of Deadpool's just shouting random stuff, making outdated internet jokes, and being weirdly dumb. Way's comic run showed Deadpool as sharp and smart, but in the game, total BS! And then there's Cable, having to trick Deadpool into meeting up with a story about a fangirl. Seriously, it's frustrating seeing Deadpool being turned into such a buffoon for a few cheap laughs. The guy's a badass. He could take out the entire Marvel superhero roster, trick Hulk, and save the multiverse. But the game makes him seem like he can't even find his way without being tricked. What were they thinking? It's tough to care about what's happening in the game when Deadpool himself seems to not give a damn. There's no real tension. He's just laughing through all the chaos. This game turned Deadpool into a version I just can't stand, as he's loud and obnoxious. They stripped away all the interesting, complex layers to make him more accessible, which is a bummer. Deadpool isn't just comic relief. He's got a tragic side. A guy who's been beaten down and is always struggling. He's the misunderstood bad guy trying to do good, making little bits of progress along the way. I mean, the real Deadpool's more than the guy who yells and makes pop culture references. He's had a rough journey, from being a 90s villain to an Avenger, and it's been anything but easy. But the game missed all that, and just focused on making him an annoying and try-hard funny guy. It's almost as bad as Barakapool from X-Men Origins, but somehow more annoying because it became so popular, and no one seemed to care. Now we've got this whole generation that knows Deadpool as this one-dimensional jokester. Is this really what we're doing? Turning him into a meme for laughs and ignoring the depth of his character? That's not the Deadpool I know and love. So in my opinion, Deadpool's a good game, and with many enjoyable things, but calling it the best is a stretch. The storyline was terrible, the adaptation was poor, and it kinda took us away from the real Deadpool. Do you agree with this? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more amazing content.